out there.
A teacher, a mentor, has got to be that individual that has such a love for the student that they're willing to pay any price to give that child an education.
Mentors that are in books, the Plato, the Thales, the Aristotles, the Galens, the Gibbons, they can teach you so many things, but they can't talk back to you, and they can't talk back to you in terms of modern times.
I did not come from a kind of a home environment where I felt like anyone really believed in me, and so I really didn't think that I was capable of doing much. And this English teacher came to me one time after class, and she told me that she thought I was a wonderful student and that she thought that I had potential to compete in speech. And I had never even considered that I could possibly do something like that. But she believed in me, and she took me out, she took me shopping to help me get some clothing that looked decent, and she coached me on how to stand, how to present myself, how to speak, and she started to build my confidence in myself.
Modern mentors sometimes have all this background, sometimes don't, but they are very good at applying the same principles that you're reading about in these books to modern times, and the two together are powerful. Plus, modern mentors, the ones you can talk to, the ones flesh and bone, they can see your weaknesses. They're going to point them out to you. Plato is not going to point your weaknesses out to you.
We need a generation of mentors. And first we have to learn subjects. We have to learn passion. Once we become passionate and learned about a particular subject, we will automatically attract those who want what we have.
You find a great mentor. You ask them and you do what they say. People don't want to hear that in modern education. We want a conveyor belt. We want a curriculum. We want a design. We want the 8 key ways to study the classics. There's no 8 key ways. You find a great mentor, you do it their way.
Strong societies have all been founded on what we call a national book. The Jewish culture, of course, was founded on the Torah. The Muslim culture is founded on the Quran, and so on and so forth. America at one time, I think it's safe to say that it's not the case today, but America at one time was founded on the Bible. And the Shakespeare, maybe even the classics, but particularly the Bible, that was the foundation.
I don't know that we have a national classic today. When you read a classic book and you are able to get some insight into somebody else's life and thought processes, it changes your whole perspective on the world.
Any time in history where you have a nation that has lost its national book, you have a or has a bad national book. You have Nazi Germany, their national book was Mein Kampf. Well, that was a bad national book, and you can see the results of that. Whenever you have a bad national book, you shift from a good to a bad, or you shift from a good to no national book, that society will fail. There must be a central authority on what is truth, what is right, what is moral. I
agree with the thought that the television has become so pervasive that in a way, that has become our classic. That is the way we relate to one another. Did you see such and such on the television recently? Instead of, have you read this or can you share this? It may be the national bestseller, may be the classic, but that comes and goes and is very trendy.
Well, the classics, there are so many different definitions of what classics are. Some people say the classics are anything that's done in, the Greek or in Latin, and for many years that was the only thing that the classics were. We also look back at different times in history and say, well, that was classical, that was, especially in art, we see there's a classical period. So when we talk about classics, we may mean a lot of different things. Some people say, well, that set of books, those are called classics. Somebody's named them classics, and that's what they are. But classics are something that's, in my definition, or the definition that I have chosen, tends to transcend all those and can encompass all those.
The classics are full of insights into human nature. And if as a mentor all we do is help them realize that those same insights into human nature apply to them, that the same principles that we're learning, that when you do certain things you get certain results, if we can just help them see that applies to them, that their life can be better if they learn these lessons, that their businesses can run more smoothly if they learn these lessons, and their families can run more smoothly and be more successful if they learn these lessons, then we've done our job.
How does a generation of parents who were not educated in the classics pass on a great education to the next generation? And there's only one answer. They have to go get educated themselves on the classics. That's hard to do when we're competing with television, when we're competing with the internet, when in fact we're told that, that educational TV and that the internet and that all these multimedia type things can take the place of a mentor and of the classics.
Me personally, if I don't have something to work toward, or a deadline, or a discussion that I have scheduled, I tend to be very flighty, and there's many books that I love to read, and very often I will just fly from one to the other. But when I have a mentor that I have trusted my education with, that help me lead me down the path that I want to go, it allows me to really get in and thoroughly study a book as I prepare to have a discussion with it.
We talk about Jefferson being mentored by George Wythe. We don't talk about him when he was with his mama and his daddy at home. When George Washington was a little boy, his daddy and worked with him and helped him, and he became one of the greatest cursive writers, period. He focused on it. His mind was directed toward it. It was a family affair. And Augustine, his dad, would work together with him. And George Washington wanted to please his daddy. And that's something that we're losing today, because so many of our kids don't even know what their daddies want. They don't know what's going on. Dad's so busy. Dad gets up and leaves before sunrise, comes home after dark, sits down and watches TV, spends 10 minutes with the kids throughout the day, and that's the end of it.
The best way I have found to motivate students to want an education is to inspire them through your example. The saying goes, you cannot give what you do not have. And too many of us have left education thinking that's something we did back in our high school and college days and haven't given it a second thought since. To truly inspire a great education, a love for learning, a love to study, a hunger and thirst to know more, is to exemplify it.
I remember my son, about 8, 9 years old, still no desire to read, and we weren't pushing him. Got a lot of flack from friends and family, but we weren't pushing it. But we were building a home right next to, on our property, and we living in a mobile home right next to it. And he just loved to be out with those construction guys. And so I got this bright idea that when he wasn't there one day, I went and talked to him. I said, hey guys, I appreciate you being out here with my son and letting him help you in things. Could you require him, when he asks you to help next time, could you give him assignments that require reading? He has to be able to read to do the assignment. They said, sure. So the next day, sure enough, they're out there, hey, high-fiving it. Hey, John, can you go get me this box that says Cascade on it or whatever? They said it was no lie. He got halfway to the box and all of a sudden he just stopped cold in his tracks. He suddenly dawned on him that he doesn't know how to read. He milled around those boxes for 5 or 10 minutes and finally wandered off because he couldn't read. Next day, I kid you not, next day, he's in there asking my wife to teach him how to read.
Problem today, many of the parents, God love them, they don't know what else to do. They put them in the public system and say, here, teach him. It's your job, you teach him. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the parent's job. My job as an educator, I am a guide. I'm not a teacher, I'm a guide. And my goal in life is to guide that student to those areas of research and study that they can benefit from, that's going to enhance their lives and create within them a love of learning.
You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Gandhi.
When Gandhi took his stance, it wasn't realistic, it was ridiculous. When Washington took his stance, everyone laughed at it. What a joke, these poor Americans. What are they thinking? When Lincoln took his stance originally, I mean, you've seen the list of how many times he lost. When he took his stance, he didn't stand for, everyone thought it was funny. Everyone who has ever been a statesman has stood for something that they knew was in them, they knew was important, they knew they had to stand for. Most of them didn't want to stand for that. Most of them wished they could just have a peaceful, easy life. Most of them didn't get into it because of the accolades, because the truth is, and when you're a statesman, people are going to criticize you. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to point fingers. People are going to make